Alright guys, and welcome back to another GP Talks episode. This is going to be me talking about my thoughts on what the outlook on the internet and politics should be. I'm not going to be necessarily diving into my particular political perspective, but I'm just going to talk about how I interpret politics, or what I believe is a good way to interpret politics. Before I get too heavy into that though, I am going to talk a little bit about the game. So just skip forward a couple minutes if you don't want to hear about that. So the game is Gundam Versus for the PS4. This is a awesome game you can get in the Gundam Versus series. It's fairly recent, came out not that long ago, but anybody who's watched my channel may have seen me play the Federation versus Zeon or Zeta Gundam series. Those were on the PS2. This one's made for the PS4, so a significant amount of time difference in between the games, and this one's got a lot more going on. It follows the same basic premise and format, but like it's a PS3 cousin that I also have, and someday I'll show off. This is just a significantly updated version with online play and all that, with Gundams across multiple series. Pretty much every Gundam interpretation's in this one. Alright, but now that we've kind of introduced the game a little bit, I get on to what I was initially talking about. So, what I wanted to talk about was political thought in terms of, we all know that the 2016 election was just vicious. It was very toxic. It doesn't matter what political side you're a part of, or even if you're not particularly political, everything became politicized. And that's just the truth of what basically happened. It was, I mean, the amount of mudslinging and just the heat from the election and post-election, it never really died down. It definitely died off. It wasn't nearly as hot in 2018 as it was in 2017. If you don't understand what I mean by heat, I just mean like the visceral emotions, the anger and hatred people were feeling towards each other based on being affiliated with either Hillary or Trump, or political left or political right, conservative, liberal, whatever you want to say. The point I'm trying to make is that people were just angry. I mean, there was riots going on, and it was a pretty crazy time. But it's definitely calmed down somewhat, but I would say that, at least from my experience as an adult, and I'm only 31, but in my experience, it is more political now, or everything is tied to some kind of political view, whether that be on Facebook or whatever, than ever before. And that kind of leads me into what I was initially trying to talk about, actually. The Facebook / Instagram, Twitter, the social media aspect of running a presidency, or campaigns, or political thought, memes, that kind of deal, has definitely assaulted people in a way that they're unprepared for in mainstream America. I would often say that when I was young, you would go towards the store with your mom, your dad, or whoever, and when you're in the checkout line, you would see little magazines, and they'd have these sensationalist headlines and, you know, obviously photoshopped or edited pictures that said, you know, I don't know, world's over, or this person says insane thing. And, you know, the person, your adult, would say, hey, you know, those are tabloids. Those are effectively somewhat made up sensationalist headlines built to just grab your attention. My mom would call them trash reading, or trash papers. So, pardon me, I've got a little bit of a cold, but you know, you would know, or at least I knew as a kid growing up, that stuff wasn't really accurate. You know, it's somebody's interpretation on events, but it's not really to be taken seriously. It's just more for you know, a sensationalist grab line, kind of like an advertisement or commercial, something claiming something that's pretty incredible. We've got the same thing happening here in a different form on the internet, and that's through memes, GIFs, and videos on either Facebook, especially Instagram, and, you know, Twitter, whatever social media platform of choice. But I think that the 2016 election definitely revealed just how much of an influence these things have over our perceptions in societies, and not always in the positive way. In this case, I would actually say it's a fairly negative way. The thing that we're struggling with here is, when I was young, you could identify those tabloids and papers and press and whatnot and just say, okay, that's fake, it's nonsense. There's no point in listening to that. But I feel like whether it's the current generation, millennials, quote unquote, or whoever, slash, older generations, maybe Gen X, or again, like I said, whoever, the memes and what you see on Facebook, I'll just use Facebook from now on so I don't have to keep like listing each one, but whatever you see on like Facebook or social media, it's being taken more seriously or given more credence, likes and looks than the old magazines would have been given back in the day, the old tabloids, something you just look on in the left side. Maybe there's a tiny minority of people that would go buy them and really believe what they're saying, but overall, I never saw one or saw anybody reading one. It was more like just a novelty, but I feel like the same message or similar messages on what the cover of those would be is being communicated through memes, but it's being taken seriously, and that can be somewhat dangerous. I mean, I like to look at memes. I'm not saying don't look at memes, but I look at them and I laugh and I can appreciate the satire, but they're not passing things off necessarily as satire. They're passing stuff off as fact, or they're using the picture to explain some very limited perspective on a serious event, something that appears to be insightful, like, oh, just think about it, it could be like this. But more often than not, the memes don't really have that much thought behind it. In one way, you could say it's like the power of art, that art can convey multiple things very easily, that you can latch onto, interpret their meaning without having it spelled out for you. A quick way to say that would be a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, it's an old saying, but in our modern era, it couldn't be more true. So that's a new challenge that we're facing with dealing today. Now, me personally, I try and look at things from, well, before I launch into that, let me just talk about one more point. So another thing is that because of these memes and because the media has lost so much credibility by just putting stuff out there for clicks and likes, and by that media I mean mainstream media, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, news stations that used to be relied upon for journalistic integrity and where you would get your news from, but they have such a clear slant and agenda these days that, if you're conservative, you're looking at Fox. If you're liberal, you're looking at NBC. It doesn't mean that either one of them is giving you the truth. They're just kind of giving you what you want to hear, depending on what your particular political bent or bias is. And that's a little bit terrible. You get one picture from one organization that shows one thing, has a different caption. You get another picture from a different organization, or rather you get the same picture from a different organization, and it says it's communicating something completely different. And audiences are being shrunken down to, especially because the split has gone where mainstream media is no longer, like, you can't just say, oh, I saw it on the news and somebody's going to believe you. Everybody's going to be like, well, what news site did you see it on? Let me question your facts, or let me question your source of information. So because you're getting that going on, a lot of smaller independent places where people get their news from have popped up, and that could be anything. That's from anything. That could be Facebook pages, that could be a fan page, that could be a secret group that you're part of that just dishes out memes. It could be a legitimate journalist who's off on their own now. But people take that news, or they take that message, and they may not always consciously be making a decision like, I'm going to make sure I take this at face value, but a lot of times they are taking it at face value, and just because it speaks to them on a logical perspective, like, oh, they're saying this, but what about this point? Oh, look at this point, it's so it's insightful, and it also happens to support my particular political view. Amazing. So the point that I'm trying to get at is that the people get their information and news from a lot more independent, small brand, specifically geared towards them audiences now. That has a dual effect. That's good and it's also bad. Just like with anything, it's a double-edged sword. The good part is you find somebody that serves your particular interest and they speak in a way that you have some kind of trust with them. So the bad part is that you have no idea about their journalistic integrity. They, these independent sites don't really have to answer to anybody except for themselves. And like I said, that's a double-edged sword. In some cases, it's good. If somebody's running their own business, podcasting, like Ben Shapiro, for example, or they have a radio show, or they have a Facebook page, a YouTube page, and their main shtick is political commentary. I mean, they've got to have some kind of accuracy, otherwise they'll lose their own audience. But the audience, it's up to the audience to do the fact-checking in that case, and that's not always necessarily happening. But it's with any kind of media, who you're going to go to, right? It's not like the bigger organizations have anybody fact-checking them. The only difference is they're just a larger platform. But the difference, one of the other differences is that due to them being a larger platform, they're looking to keep more of the audience. They're trying to maximize their audience, I should say. So they're going to put something on there that can appeal to as many people as possible. And because they're trying to do that, they are trying to maximize their profits, which allows them to behave in a predictable manner. Doesn't necessarily mean what they put out is going to be true, but they can't put out something that's blatantly false, because if they do, they'll get called out for it by another large group, and then they'll have egg over the face, and that'll result from them losing credibility. Whereas some of these smaller groups, there's really nobody calling them out. There's nobody holding them accountable because they're too small. You can go target, like I said, I use the example of Ben Shapiro. You could go try and target him because a lot of people listen to him, but then there's 5 other people that are smaller than him saying a similar message or a different message, but saying, using the political platform to get what they want across. So, smaller, more focused isn't always necessarily better, but it's up to the person who's receiving the information to try and verify what they're hearing. And then verify is another thing. Like, how do you verify stuff? You're like gonna go on Google and do like a fact check? I mean, it's more like opinions. You gotta be able to separate what is being interpreted as fact from what are opinion statements, or especially what's outlandish. Like, can you believe this side did this? It's like, more often than not, it's not as insane as people paint it to be. People are going to act in predictable manners. There's corruption and etc., but the whole unless you have like empirical evidence, it's like, okay, we can definitely say that this guy said this here. The interpretations that go behind a lot of what's happening are just that, interpretations. They're not fact. But without specific examples, I don't know. I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole. I already feel like I'm on a bit of a ramble here as it is. So the way that I try personally to interpret the data, because I have a small group that I listen to as well. I really listen to Dan Carlin. Now, he hasn't put out a lot of stuff lately because he feels like we're in an uncharted territory. But even though he hasn't put a lot of stuff out, one of the things that I take away from when he was putting stuff out prior to, well, let's say 2017, was he's a political Martian. And I love that phrase. That phraseology is awesome. I'm a political Martian. A political Martian meaning that you can't categorize him. You can't put him in a label. Things that he wants to do are sometimes conservative, sometimes liberal, but sometimes his own thing. And I feel like that describes pretty much all of us for the most part. I think that there's some people that are outliers, but I definitely fall in that category, and I just love the way that he uses that phrase. So when I see news and I see memes and I see something that's sensationalist, what I do is I can't just say, oh, I don't let it bother me, because sometimes it does. Like, sometimes I want to have a reaction to it, and I think that's fine. But normally what I do is, if okay, there's some kind of meme here or something like that that really sets me off, the first thing I try and do is look at the other direction. So let's say, for example, in this case, let's say Fox News, that something has, let's say there's a shooting, terrible thing to talk about, but it is a problem in this country, except for when we forget about it. But let's say that there's a shooting, and let's say Fox News has put something on there, and, you know, I just feel really visceral about it. I'm like, oh man, that's just totally wrong. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and see what some more, cause I got plenty of both sides of friends, but I'll see if any of my friends post anything about it, and see what they've posted, and then next thing I'll do is I'll go check the more local friends I have, see what they've posted. But what I find is that when I do that double check, it seems to really like calm me down a lot. So that's one method that I use. I mean, it's not foolproof or anything like that, but I just happen to have a lot of friends on both sides of the political spectrum, and I tried not to get too invested into posting myself on stuff, because I don't feel like that's really helping anybody. There's some people that are going to do it regardless, but I feel like no matter what your opinion is or how well stated, it's not going to serve any purpose other than just to get people that are already thinking the same way on your side still more, or people that aren't just angry and mad at you. So it's kind of like a man convinced against his will has the same opinion still. And I think if you're on Facebook posting or Twitter and stuff, it's just not the right, you can't get any depth of conversation without having tone and without having any sort of face-to-face. Then you're seeing everything in like the worst way possible. I mean, it's just kind of the nature of working in Twitter and whatnot. Well, not just Twitter, but whenever you're making memes, like, it's rare you can get anything beyond a surface level conversation going. So, I mean, and I've definitely engaged in it before, but a lot of times people are just, they're inside of their emotions. So, but anyway, other ways to deal with political stuff. Don't take memes as gospel, even if it's something that you agree with. Even if it's something that makes logical sense or sits down and makes you think for a second. Question it. Don't necessarily go off and say, okay, this has got to be, or let me rephrase, because most people don't have an active mental thought like, oh, this is definitely the truth. What they'll do is they'll say, okay, this meme got me to make a reaction, and maybe I agree with it, maybe I don't, maybe I really agree with it, and, you know, then share it. And you know, it just kind of spreads throughout whatever social media platform that you're using at that time. But there's nothing to be gained from sharing it other than provoking a reaction, and it's not gonna change anybody's mind. That's the thing. The memes, even though people listen to them and some people take them more seriously than they need to take them, depending on your audience, it's not going to change anybody's mind. All you're going to do is get people that already agree with you to continue to agree with you, and people that don't agree with you to continue to not agree with you. Everybody is such a, like, in a gang mentality where it's like, I'm this side or I'm this side. It's like, no. You don't have to be on sides. Like, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat. It's like, people should remember that in this country, it wasn't founded with a two-party system in mind. We had many parties before, and just because Republicans and Democrats are the majority now, those aren't your only options. You're not obligated to vote for them. Those parties are not even obligated to exist. They present themselves as, okay, it's either Republican or Democrat, and that's the only way, but that's just their businesses. And I'm not saying, oh, that means go vote Green Party or vote Independent, and okay, then my vote's not going to matter. But what I am trying to say is, if the thought is there always has to be a Republican and there always has to be a Democrat, there always has to be like two sides, and these are the issues that they always disagree on, it's just not true. The party system that we have, I mean, those guys, the Democrats and Republicans, have a handshake agreement to keep all other types of parties and peoples out. It's one of the reasons that we are in the situation that we're in, and we have limited candidates. One of the biggest things that kind of got lost in 2016 is that people didn't really like either candidate, either Trump or Hillary, but they, it was lesser of two evil. You had to go with one. Now, I'm not saying that nobody liked Trump. I'm not saying that, because some people did. But the majority were like, I don't really think either of these guys are qualified, but it's going to be one of those two. But it doesn't have to be that way. It's just the way that it has shaped into, because both parties want it that way. They want people to think that they're the only option and you can't go somewhere else. You can't look at something else. But like I said, it's just not true. So just keep in mind that there's no need to be defined or linked to and say I'm conservative and I agree with this, or I'm liberal and I agree with this. Like, if for example you support trans but you also support gun rights, where does that leave you? It's like some kind of like crazy outlier. No, it's just you're just an American citizen doing this thing, and you're not obligated to be part of a party. And it's okay to have both opinions, and no matter how convincing somebody seems, it's also okay to not agree with everything that they say or anything that they say. I know, like on Facebook, there's somebody that I followed on Facebook who was a friend of mine who was spitting some very intellectual stuff, at least I thought so. Then he came out of left field with some whack job theory that I just like, no. Like, now I was tempted to, but did not like get aggressive in the post and just be like, you're crazy, you're wrong. I tried to find out why he said what he said, where he was coming from. It turned out his information, or what he was saying, was based on a old book, basically, talking about the Haitian Revolution, and I'm not going to go too far into it, but the point is that he had a basis for what he was saying, but not a good foundation, as I found out by doing a little bit of, how do I say it, diplomatic inquiry instead of visceral assault. And sometimes I think people definitely, especially on social media, post stuff just to get a reaction, just because of likes and comments, whether that's negative or positive. They just want that engagement, and just don't feed into it. So with the 2020 election coming here to our corners soon, it's grim times ahead. So, for gamers and stuff, always feel free to. It's a good position for gamers to be in sometimes, because it's like, hey, we don't have to listen to this nonsense. We could watch the next show or watch whoever you're uploading, like watch some Pro Jared or whatever it is. And it's you can avoid a lot of stuff that way. But at the same time, for me, in over 30, you're gonna hear about it, see about it. People at work are gonna talk about it, and for your own mental health, just try not to get too wrapped up in it. And keep in mind, however clever, however funny the political post is often not going to change anybody's opinion. And it doesn't mean I don't laugh at them, because sometimes I do. I find stuff funny. Like, I just saw one with Trump and I don't even remember her name. She's a bartender or something like that. Anyway, it said something about the only person who couldn't make me a white Russian. And I laughed. I thought that was funny. I put a laugh on it. But that's usually all I put on. I'm never really going to put like an angry face or like get down like, how dare you say this about X, Y, or Z. Don't let yourself be manipulated by people that are just seeking to get your attention one way or the other. Because that is a lot of what's going on. That's for damn show. Well, anyway, I think I've dragged out this ramble about as long as I want to drag it out. It's a little bit of a precursor. I wanted to do a podcast some time ago on subjects like this, but they're kind of sit down require writing a script, and maybe not necessarily a script, but notes. And I feel like if I'm going to do something that's just audio only with no visual to back it up, I need to have some opportunities to practice and do the commentary, so one of the reasons I put this video out. I'm not sure if anybody will even see it, but hey, you know, I think it's good to talk about the things you have in your head going on. So anyway, for those of you who have watched it and listened to me ramble on and on while Gundam Versus is going on, I appreciate it, and hopefully you've enjoyed the content. If you want to see this game just on a regular Let's Play or another one-off with the topic maybe not so, I don't know, dramatic, feel free to let me know, and I will do that. I always appreciate feedback, and that will wrap it up. So once again, appreciate it. Like I said, if you guys are liking it, remember to like, comment, subscribe, the YouTube stuff. But more than that though, if you really do feel like this is worth something or worth less, let me know, because if this kind of stuff is like just inherently pissing people off or one of those type of things, then there's no need for me to put it out in the ether. I'm really doing no more better than what I'm trying to stop. So, but if you find it like kind of made me think a little bit, yeah, let me know that too. So anyway, longest wind up, longest goodbye ever, but take it easy fellas, and we will see you next time. See ya.